Hello there!
And welcome back to another video! Today we're doing, guess what, another sketchbook tour! If you watched my previous sketchbook tour of this little guy, you'll know that I was actually using these two books at the same time. I'll take a note of where exactly, so I started this one, did quite a bit in it, but then switched to this one and then only used this one essentially until it was done, and then I came back to this one, so I will flag that when we get to it. But this was, I think, genuinely the slowest I've filled a sketchbook since I started regularly filling sketchbooks, and it was my New Year's resolution to finish these two sketchbooks in 2021 because the little one I opened in 2020 and this one has been open since 2019, which was a long time ago. So let's just jump straight into it. First page here was in June of 2019. I had taken a trip to Japan to visit my best friend from high school. This was a guy from Kyoto Station that I thought had a really nice style, so I drew him. Here I cut out a bit of this paper to give as a little gift to somebody I met in Japan, and then a little just practice drawing. This looks pretty cool, actually. While I was still in Japan, my friend Prism Kid was doing some stuff, messaging the group chat and stuff like that, so I wanted to draw some of the original character bitless. This here is my character Zeke and the friend who I went to Japan with, her character Ida, and just some more little pen drawings. Here are two things that I glued in here that are also indicative of my trip to Japan. We went to the Team Lab Digital Museum, and there were these two exhibits where they gave you these templates that you could draw on, and they would scan it in and they would project it onto the exhibit. So I drew this little butterfly and I drew this little turtle, and I taped it in here because it's a nice little memory and I felt like the sketchbook is a good place to keep it. There's a video on my channel about this. This was another little drawing that I gave to someone from Japan. I think this one was as well, but I didn't write the thing down. There's also a video on my channel about this one. This was back when I was posting more regularly than I am now. You can tell how old the sketchbook is just by that, but this was me swatching the art supplies that came in Jazz's Jazzy art box, and I was just doing a little play like with the polychromos. This is where I fell in love with polychromos. My polychromos collection has tripled since then, and yeah, the spectrum noir markers, the ink pens and stuff like that. And then really quickly, I think I did the Jazz's Jazzy art box thing in July, and then we're already at Inktober, and that's mainly because I was finishing that summer. I was finishing a lot of traditional pieces like on canvases. So really quickly we went from June to now we're in October, which I find is kind of funny. I have felt myself focusing a lot more on digital art in the last 2 years, which kind of explains why it took me 2 years to finish 2 sketchbooks. That never happens anymore with me, but it did. But I also have a video going over my Inktober 2019, so I'm just going to casually flip through these. I was following the official prop list, and I was also making TikToks for each one. This was when I first started making TikToks. I didn't quite take off at the time. It was still a little bit early, October 2019, but since then, if you guys have seen any of my recent videos, you'll know that I'm obsessed with making art TikToks and things of that nature. I did want to take this opportunity to discuss why I don't do Inktober anymore. I did Inktober 2017, the benefit of flipping through the sketchbook is you get to see the original concepts that I did end up going with. My brother really liked this one, so I had to cut it out and frame it for him for Christmas or something or other, so I printed the photo of it to tape in here because I don't have the original anymore. But yeah, so I don't do Inktober anymore because I feel like I've gotten everything that I want to get out of it. So the first Inktober was just in 2017, the first Inktober I completed was just a matter of, can I do this? Can I do an ink piece every single day and post it and things like that? And then the second year was, can I do that but also follow the official prompt list? And the third year, which is this one, is can I do that but also make a TikTok for each one? The answer was yes, yes, and yes, and I've gotten extremely comfortable making this type of illustration, and I feel like it's one of my strongest skill sets. And then I just it kind of became a bit oversaturated, a bit boring. I'd done it 3 times already, so I felt like it was kind of poetic because I also had 3 years that I did Inktober were the 3 years I was in college for. So after 2018, I graduated in 2020. Ride gave me a lot of trouble. This is 1, 2, 3. The fourth one, and I can't find draw. The fourth one was the one that I was able to like carry through to the end. But yeah, so I felt like it was really poetic that Inktober was kind of connected to my college experience. It felt like it made sense that it was a lot of growth, and there was also the additional benefit that while I was in college, I was attending classes. Like these days, you do that online for the most part still, but I could take my sketchbook to class, I could take my little pencil case of ink supplies to class, and I could do my pieces while I was listening and taking notes on the side. So it was kind of a nice match. Even though I was extremely busy at the time, it was a really nice match. And then you go from the end of October to December 5th, which again, usually after October, I would kind of burn myself out of traditional art. So that's what happened here. And here we're already towards the end of December. I kind of felt like, oh, I haven't touched my sketchbook in so long. Let's do some like little studies. And here there's TikToks about these actually. This was the first kind of like jokey TikTok that I did, and this was another TikTok that I did, and this is a drawing of my character Chrome that I also did a TikTok for, and this was another TikTok. This was thumbnailing for an oil painting that I made. I'll try to put the photo of it over here so you can see the final thing. This was me just attempting, and I also made TikTok for it, attempting to draw different styles of noses so that I could see kind of where my style left. This one over here is what I typically draw noses as, and then this is a new one that I've kind of adopted more of since I did this little exercise. And then here, this was around my birthday. This is a set of polychromos that my friend gifted to me for my birthday, and I don't know what I said to her or what I did to her, but she just drew a little paint splatter and she claimed I was dead to her, but she claims that regularly, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Some practices. Here was already late February, early March. I was already at my internship, and if you'd seen the sketchbook tour of this little guy, this is getting pretty close to when I made the swap. So there was a bit of like kind of downtime at my internship between when they would assign us projects or when I was waiting for my superiors to give me feedback. So I was just doing some practice sketches, and then I decided, oh, let's look up an After Effects tutorial and take notes. So that's this here. And then this was in March of 2020, and you'll see the date here was January 2021. So I did not touch this sketchbook again for 7 months. Funny that, but I will say those 7 months had like a nice chunk of pages, maybe not as much as I would have liked, but like a nice chunk of pages in this one. So moving over to when I picked up this sketchbook again, this is another drawing of my character Chrome, but you will see it is painted. You can see like the paper is very warped. My friend Dark Petal 16 gifted me a set of Hemi gouache paints for my birthday in 2021 this year. So I decided that I did try the gouache paints on canvas board, which I didn't really like. I tried it on watercolor paper, which I liked better, but it warps. I hate when paper warps. It's my biggest pet peeve. But I decided to just like, you know what, I need to use the sketchbook. So I started using these paints in the sketchbook. It's not the best thing, it's not the worst thing. And that's another thing I'll comment on. This is notes for Stardew Valley things because the paper was warped, and marker drawing of my character Rowan. I will say, in the defense of this sketchbook having taken so long, there are more, I would say, kind of like finished illustrations in this sketchbook than there typically are. And so I've finished, this is the third sketchbook I've finished that's of this size. I tend to prefer this smaller size for sketchbooks. I just find it more manageable. But this is the third sketchbook I finished at this size, which is like 8x12 or something like that, 8x11. And in the other sketchbooks that are this size, you have a lot more pages that are closer to this, or maybe even closer to like this one. You see it's like very stripped bare. There's like some thumbnails for things and some feet practices. Like I used to have a lot more pages that were of this nature in this size sketchbook than of this nature in this size sketchbook. So I will acknowledge that, like, even though this took me forever, there is a lot of actual time and effort spent directly to it, not that I'm just like slacking off. More Stardew things, and this is an inside joke with my friend Kat. I think there's a video on my channel about this one, and you'll see how recent this is now. May? Yeah, May. Same with this one, same with this one. Again, if you want more details on these three, there's a video. This one was in July, and you see a huge gap from May to July. And the idea for this was my friend Kat was over, and she brought some of her old sketchbooks, and so she redrew something from one of my sketchbooks from like 2012, and I redrew this drawing that she had from 2014, which is, I think, of the protagonist from Tokyo Mew Mew, but I'm not sure, she doesn't remember. And I used it with the gouache paints, so you can see the texture in the back. And then in this one, I did some like explaining something, and then I did a little thumbnails for this. This was in August of 2021, where I was on FaceTime with Saf, and we were just drawing together, and I just did this with the paints. I didn't tape this down, I didn't clip this down, and it actually wasn't the end of the world, and it actually feels pretty nice. And then this is from here on to the end of it. It's really recent. This is where I'd already finished this other book, and I was like, I'm going to finish this dang book. My goal was to finish it before the end of the year, like I've mentioned, but I did find a technique which we'll see crop up not too long from now, which helped me get through this faster. So this is just the lyrics to the song that I ended up making a TikTok for. So, and this TikTok, I don't know, it just came at me at the right time, and I was like, imagine if your comfort characters were saying this to you. So I decided to take My Hero Academia, and starting with Izuku, and then going to Shoto, and then there's Katsuki, Kirishima, Denki, and then all of them. So it says, good morning, I know it's hard to wake up because the sun's in your eyes, and sometimes life kinda sucks, but you've got this. And hey, you never know, there's a million different ways that this whole day could go, so I'm just popping in to say I hope you have a good day. And I think this is my favorite TikTok that I have ever made. So I filmed it like frame by frame, and I was kind of like using a piece of paper to cover the ones that weren't supposed to be in frame, and I added these post-its just like after the fact so that I have it, you know, as a completed source of idea in the sketchbook itself. But especially for this last frame, I was debating just having another one of Denki Kaminari because everybody else got two, and then the final group shot, but I just felt like it deserved to have everyone say it to you together, and so that's what I did, and this took me 2 days to make. It took me like 7 hours to draw, but yeah, I'm really glad that I took the time to do this and to give it the proper care it needs. And this is also, so in this other sketchbook, towards the end of it, I did this illustration of Bakugo with this red background, and it's just with some cheap water-based markers that I bought off of Wish, but they have the like brush nib, and then they have the fine liner nib. So I started using those, and you'll see them crop up again. We're less than halfway through this big old sketchbook at this point. The other kind of TikTok thing is that there's this trend where a lot of singers are doing like harmony building TikToks. I saw this person, Ray03, do like sync up somebody else's harmony building thing to drawings that they made of the My Hero characters, and I was like, imagine that with the One Piece characters. Originally, I miscounted the number of layers of the harmony that the song that I picked had. I thought there were just 5, and my original concept was going to have Luffy with his mouth like duct taped over it to show that he's not allowed to sing because he sings very off key, but in the end it had 6 layers, and so I just gave Luffy the finale. This was another thing that I did for a TikTok from Skate the Infinity, and I just did this with a dip pen and some purple ink because I hadn't used a dip pen in I think a year. And then, so this was an exercise I did with my friend Kat again, where we were trying to draw with our left hands, and I think it turned out pretty good. Kat's also turned out pretty good. We both decided to draw Luffy with our left hand, and then there was some other quick doodles. This is again with the water-based markers. I was just trying to like get good spread. So this is Sebastian from Stardew Valley. I went through a huge Stardew Valley kick in like August, September. And then my friend Saf had been drawing some coral, and I was like, I want to draw coral. So I drew coral, and this is just with color pencil, mainly the polychromos, but a little bit of Prismacolor because I did not have a coral yet. I did eventually get a coral though. And then on the same day, I just decided to, it's freaky to me that we are 107 pages in, and this is the first like real spread of gesture drawings. If you've seen any of my previous sketchbook tours, you will know that gesture drawings are my most kind of common use of like page filler, and it actually is really helpful. I'll give you that. It's really helpful to do gesture drawings, and I've grown so much from having done them regularly for the last, like 4 or 5 years. But yeah, it's kind of amazing to me that it's been so long, and this is the first spread for that. And this is another one. Over here, I was sketching for my friend's birthday. So her birthday is in September, and her boyfriend has the birthday on the same day. So I made them a watercolor piece of the 2 of them in some really nice, awesome themed yukatas. And this is again me trying to figure out the yukata and then figuring out the hiragana for saying otanjobi omedetou. We'll touch on hiragana some more later, because I've also spent the last month really finally trying to like perfect hiragana. Here's Killua from Hunter x Hunter, and this was drawn in September. And then on this side we have Sam from Stardew Valley, which is my second favorite bachelor. Then here I went to the art store with my brother, and my brother is a horrible enabler. So I came out of the art store having spent $70, and I got a couple extra polychromos. These aren't all of them. Half of these are the ones that I got for my birthday in 20 and the other half of the new ones. I got a set of the store brand alcohol markers, which are actually really good. They're super vibrant because I got the primary set, so of course they're really vibrant. But I like them. I think I would buy them more as a more like affordable alternative to Copics. I love Copics, but these, and I really like their brush nib. And then the other thing is I got some Winsor & Newton Pro markers because I've seen a lot about them, and I do really like the ink. They feel really empty and they don't have a brush nib, but the colors are really nice. I'm sure I'll get use out of them. And then obviously the bleed. And my brother occasionally steals a page out of my sketchbook to doodle on. I'm sure you guys remember the one from the previous sketchbook tour, but this was the page that he stole from this sketchbook, and he drew Kaido from One Piece with a little bloody Luffy at the top there. And I'm like, well, you really went for it. He's like, yes, I did. And there we go. Here was another just little lyrics of this. I think this is the second one, and it was just Lost Boy by Ruth B, and it was kind of stuck in my head. And here we get to my new technique for filler pages. Instead of gesture drawing, I'm practicing hiragana, and my technique, so I did the Duolingo thing just for hiragana. I do not recommend Duolingo for the actual like Japanese lessons, but I do think it's quite a useful tool for learning hiragana, and I'll let you know about the katakana because that's my next step. So my strategy for actually learning hiragana was to take songs that I enjoy in Japanese and just transcribe it from the romaji to the hiragana. So I wasn't copying the kanji, like the official Japanese way of writing the lyrics. I was taking the English alphabet lyrics that they use for us Westerners to phonetically sing it, and I tried to translate that to hiragana, and you'll see more of these pages. But I actually found that very useful. I've been trying to low-key learn hiragana for 10 years or so, and I actually in the last month or so really feel like I've done it. So anyway, that's that. There's a little sketch of a buddy of mine who is a dungeon master. I gave Kat a page in the sketchbook because I wanted to fill it, so she did this. And I made sure she used the new markers that bleed so that I wouldn't have to worry about that page. Here's Chopper from One Piece, and so I drew this on September 30th. And then again, another hiragana practice, a little doodle of my character Talia. I wanted to do a couple spreads of expression studies, and I was reading Full Metal Alchemist fanfiction, and I put Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on Netflix. But I didn't get very far. I got kind of burnt out really quickly of trying to do these expression studies because I really liked the look of these spreads, and I wanted to kind of continue that, and I felt like expression studies are a really great opportunity. But as you can see, maybe Edward just wasn't the right character, even though he's so expressive, because the first one had me drawing his automail arm. So yeah, either way, I did not last very long. So then I was feeling really exhausted. I was feeling really disheartened. This was October 2nd. Because I really wanted to finish the sketchbook at the end of the year, and I had only just passed the halfway mark, and I was just like, what do I do? So then I kind of went back. I went back a little bit. You're like, what the hell is this page? Like, what are you doing here? I kind of went back to the exercises that I was taught in high school, which is I draw something without looking at it. Just look at the thing and don't look at the page. So I did that with this candle that I have over here, and then this other little like candle holder thing that I have on my bookcase, and a random doodle, and then I did it with looking, that same thing with looking, and then the mug that I had on my desk, and just a little like, I'm embarrassed of what is this scribble. And then, and this is like it's funny that it came to me this way. My pencil case, which is on my desk right now, so I won't grab it, but if you recognize it from past videos, my pencil case I got from the Pokemon Center in Japan, and it's got some little Pikachus with art supplies on it. So I decided, let's just try to copy this, and I decided to do this spread in pen because it's easier to just move on when you're using pen, and you won't spend as long kind of creating things or reworking things or whatever. And this Pikachu looks atrocious. I will admit, I'll be the first to admit, this barely looks like a Pikachu. It's just really bleh, as I've described. But it gave me the idea, what if I just draw Pokemon? So this is the start, and if you follow me on TikTok, you know where this is going, but I found this random Pokemon generator, which is essentially, it's just this random Pokemon generator where you hit generate, and it gives you a Pokemon, and then you hit generate again, and it shows you. What I liked about this one in particular compared to other ones I had found was that it shows you like the official poster art, and it doesn't really show you the sprite. So that's what I found it was helpful, because then I could just like sit there and copy. So the name of the game here wasn't, oh, let's put my own twist on it, let's put it in my style. No. The name of the game here was efficiency and accuracy and using pen. And you can tell, like in this first page, there was a little bit of white gel pen to correct some mistakes. Here there was more, so later on I'll introduce more tactics to correct the things that I got really wrong, so like post-it to actual whiteout, because I found that white gel pen over ballpoint pen kind of doesn't end up looking white. You can see it just looks like a different kind of purple. But either way, the first, and I would say worst one, is this ladybug. But then it started going and building. So next spread, and a lot of the time I was like, I never imagined I would draw this Pokemon. Or for example, for Meloetta, I forgot Meloetta was a Pokemon. And then for Mantine, she's like so derpy. Look at that face, it's so derpy. But I kind of found I wrote this one, Electivire was so derpy before I fixed it. Oh my god, that was it was on route to be the worst one before, like after Ladybug, before I fixed it. But and then yeah, it was just a really good exercise, and I was getting through it fairly quickly, and it filled up a spread, and I wasn't I wasn't overthinking it. I was getting through it quickly, and I was having a good time. And I like looking back at these spreads. For example, when Golek pulled up, I was like, how in the world am I going to draw this? Like, goodness. But then I just went for it, and it turned out great, and I was like, this is amazing. And then let's not forget that I'm still trying to learn Hiragana. And so if you can see here, like this was all in like October 3rd or something like that, and I was able to fill up like 7 or 8 pages all in one day. And I was like, at this rate, I could actually finish the sketchbook before the end of the year. Oh my god. So yeah, that was kind of the game plan moving forward. Of Pokemon and Hiragana, more Hiragana. So this one, what is it? This is Hello, How Are You from Vocalizer Haro. And I was setting out to do another Pokemon page, but then Saf challenged me to redraw this, and I'll try to put the old versions over here. She challenged me to redraw this illustration that I did. The first one was in 2014, and then I'd redrawn it once before in 2016, and now we redrew it again. And I tried to sketch it here, and it just I wasn't getting the vibe that I wanted, so then I just went out to the white legs. So I went out to look for a reference, and then I ended up with this one. And then she also had challenged me to redraw another illustration I'd done in 2014 of Ed Sheeran, or 2015. I think it was 2015 of Ed Sheeran. It says right there, 2015 of Ed Sheeran. That I did, it was digital, and it had his Multiply album cover in the background, and I'm super excited for Equals to come out, so Ed Sheeran. And so Ed Sheeran himself is in markers. The jumper I did in color pencil, don't ask why, and then the album cover I did in those cheap water-based markers, and it looks cool, I like it. And this is the first time I've actually drawn Ed's tattoos, and I kind of regretted it in the moment, but I'm glad I did it now, and I do not think I'd do it again, but here it is. And guess what, we're back to the Pokemon. I could have, and this is typically my strategy, I'm sure you have learned by now, that if it's alcohol markers and it bleeds to the other page, I kind of leave the back page blank. Usually I try to fill both pages, but because it was so little, I did slap some Pokemon on here to not feel guilty. And of course, here we go. Another Hiragana page. This one is the first opening for One Piece, because of course I needed to do that. Here's another Pokemon page with some Hiragana mixed in. This wasn't any lyrics or anything. This was just me trying to write to my friend who can read Hiragana, and she was helping give me some feedback. And more Pokemon. A Drowsy, another Pokemon I never thought I would draw, but here it is. Same with this one from Gen 7, and I just, Nightmare Fuel, 100% Nightmare Fuel. And I like that the Pokemon didn't kind of exhaust me to the point where I wasn't able to like make some other illustrations. So after my Full Metal Alchemist kick for fanfiction, I've been on an Inuyasha kick for fanfiction, and of course, if you've seen anything about Inuyasha fanfiction, Sashomaru is a fan favorite. So I wanted to draw Sashomaru, and I really like this one. But his neck is kind of like hunched, and I didn't like it, but I didn't dislike it enough to erase it, so just move on to the next page, why not? And I kind of like that. It looks like that, and then, oh, what a surprise, more Pokemon! At this point, we have drawn 51 Pokemon in this sketchbook. I've been keeping count. So 6 on this page, 51 total is what I wrote. more Pokemon, shocker. And here you can see the introduction of the post-its. You kind of saw it over here with the Pidgey. The post-its to correct really wonky things, and you can also, I don't know how the camera is going to pick it up, but there's some white out here to correct a few things. And with this page, we're at 58 Pokemon. And oh, surprise, surprise, another sheet of hiragana. And this has all been in October, by the way. It's been fat going since I discovered this tactic. I love Galarian Corsola. And I totally forgot that the Galarian Regis were a thing. But either way, it was interesting and it was fun to do this. And again, more Pokemon, shocker. I never thought that I would draw one of these guys, but here it is. I really enjoyed drawing Swampert. We're at 70 Pokemon total, and then I decided, oh, let's go back to my roots. Let's do some gesture drawing. It's been so long, and then my objective with this one was to at least try to draw some fingers, so you can kind of see it here, here, here. Because usually, you know, when you do gesture drawings, you just leave the hands as mittens, kind of like here. But I was, even though I gave myself a 90-second timer for each figure, I was trying to do at least some fingers. And oh, guess what? We're still on the Inuyasha kick. So I drew Koga from Inuyasha because he was my favorite when I was a kid, and I had to change his clothing design a little bit because I couldn't with the weird kind of chest plate that he had. And then some more gestures, some more hiragana. This is the first hiragana page where I did not write the romaji next to every single character. So at this point, I can read it. This was a little doodle that I did to make the Koga illustration into a TikTok. So the song that I picked is one I'm obsessed with. It goes like, he looks at me, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and it kind of goes like that for a bit, and I just kind of erased and changed up the expression of me, and it's a cute little TikTok. I liked it. They're really janky. They look less janky with the block colors in it, but my friend Saf went on vacation. She sent me some photos of the flowers that she saw, so I was like, oh, let's try to draw them, and they look really bad, but you know, it fills up the page. This day that I did the Pokemon drawings, my randomizer was just, oh, we heard you like legendaries. So we got in this spread, out of 5 Pokemon, 2 legendaries. We got Dialga and we got Shaymin, and then these 3 little guys. At least these guys were little guys. And then another legendary, and then another legendary, and I was like, why? At least they gave me Gulpin right after this one. I was so tempted to skip. The only ones that I've skipped when they come up on the randomizers are the Ultra Beasts, because I don't consider them Pokemon technically. We'll just go for that. But I was so tempted to skip this one, and I ended up just going for it. And I'm glad that I did, because it looks pretty cool, but it was like, really, out of 11 Pokemon, you've given me 4 legendaries? Come on. And that was that. And then another little spread, and another little spread, another hiragana page. So is this Itsumo boku no ko. So Aikotoba from, it's a vocaloid song called Aikotoba. How awesome is it that I can read this now? I'm so pleased with myself. Anyway, to conclude, no, not yet. To continue the Inuyasha kick, of course, he had to draw Kagome. So I drew a little like pencil bust, and I wrote Higurashi Kagome, and then I wrote Osowari, which is it's the sit boy thing in Japanese, and then I drew her a little fancier in her Miko uniform, but with a modern archery glove, because I think she should have taken at least a modern archery glove, if not a modern archery bow, with her to the past. I think that would have given her a heckin' advantage. And then I drew her in Inuyasha because it's so cute. So this says Ore no onna. That, so it's like, you're my woman, and then she's like, oh, Inuyasha. It's just like, oh. And I think it's cute, makes me happy. Oh, look at that, more Pokemon. Oh, what a surprise, more Pokemon. We're at 111 Pokemon. And oh, I never would have guessed more Pokemon. And again, oh, what a shocker, more hiragana. So I started doing this thing after I stopped writing the romaji. I was trying to make an effort to separate the words so that I would be able to read it more smoothly. So you can kind of see this is the word, that's the particle, then a word, particle, word, word, particle, word, whatever. But then I noticed that it was just harder to maintain that. So towards the end of the spread, I was swapping colors between words just to make it easier to read back. And this song is the opening for our Haru ride. You'll remember a couple pages ago I wrote the lyrics to Lost Boy by Ruth B, and when I was listening to that song on loop, I had wanted to draw Peter Pan and I hadn't gotten around to it, and then I remembered, so I drew Peter Pan, and then I was like, oh, floating poses are so fun. So you would think these are gesture drawings. They're not gesture drawings. I made all of these up by imagination, so no references, but they're like, my concept was just like, oh, let's make people float. I really like this one. This one's kind of like loopy. This one's really cute. I think, yeah, this one's my favorite though. Over here, my Pokemon. It took 123 Pokemon to get Pikachu. And it all started with that really janky Pikachu. I like this one better. Also, this Wartortle looks like early Dragon Ball Krillin, which I think is hilarious. And then I drew my character Onyx in markers. I'm really happy with how the shading turned out for his clothing especially. And I just really felt like giving him some love because I was talking about him with my friend Saf. And I was like, yes, he must be drawn. And then it leads to the back, obviously. I feel like this is my favorite like back bleed for a marker illustration I've ever done. I think this looks really cool for the bleed. This was just a little, and that's again what I'm going to mention. This sketchbook has a lot more pages that look like this and like this than look like this. And I really like that. And these are obviously quicker and they're nicer, you don't have to think about as much. These obviously you don't have to think about so much with Pokemon, you just hit the randomizer and copy. But like, I feel like this kind of thing looks better than this kind of thing, and this I'm so happy that there's so much more of the other one than this one, but there's nothing wrong with this one. I'm probably going to be doing a lot more of these kinds of pages moving forward because I don't think I'm going to touch a sketchbook for another month. Another set of Pokemon drawings and one last Pokemon drawing, and then I drew little Naruto and it says Uzumaki Naruto here because I was putting Naruto in the background as I was doing those Pokemon pages. And with that, I'm finished. If you've seen any of my sketchbook tours in the past, you'll know that I like to leave the back pages, at least a handful of them, blank in case in the future I ever want to come back and like do a redraw or leave a little memento to myself. For my really old sketchbooks, like the notebooks that I used as sketchbooks that I had as a kid, I can kind of see like I filled in the book in 2008 and then I came back to it in 2011, I left a doodle, and I came back to it in 2013 and I left a something, and then I came back in 2014 and I was trying to, and I end up having a conversation with myself over the years through the back pages of these books. So that's why even though I finished more of them than I did back in 2008 or whatever, so like what's to say that I'll pick this one and not this other one, or that one and not this one, but I still like the tradition, and it just feels like with this little Naruto waving goodbye, it feels like the sketchbook is done. This is the longest it has taken me to fill up a sketchbook since I started regularly filling up sketchbooks, and I am beyond glad that I got it done, and especially glad that I got it done now in October, because if you've been on the internet lately, you'll know that Animal Crossing is getting its 2.0 update and a DLC, so nobody's gonna hear from me for months because I'm going to be playing Animal Crossing again. I've got over 800 hours in that game, so yeah, I'm probably gonna get another 800 there before. But either way, I'm really happy with this sketchbook. It's kind of trippy to have my October Pokemon doodle obsession in the same book as my 2019 Inktober, but either way, I'm really happy to have finished this. I feel like I've done a lot of growing. I really like that I experimented with the gouache paints in this book. This Inktober, this final Inktober, was my favorite Inktober of them all, of the three that I did. I think that the works I did for this one were the best that I've done for Inktober. So I'm just happy that this is done, honestly, and I am very excited to go back to digital art because it's been like a month since I've really drawn. No, that's a lie. I did one thing because Jazza is holding a competition for drawing yourself as a Pokemon trainer, and I was like, wow, what timing to draw something Pokemon related in October where I've drawn, what was the final count? I forgot. The final count for how many Pokemon I drew was 131. I drew 131 Pokemon this month. I drew more than 4 Pokemon per day for October, and it's not even the end of October. Oh my goodness. But yes, I had to do a little submission for the, here, I'll put it over here, for the Jazza's Draw Yourself as a Pokemon Trainer competition. But that's the only digital art that I've done in like a month and a half. So yes, I'm very happy to have this done. I'm very excited to return to my iPad. Eventually I'll crack in a new sketchbook. I might make a video on it, I might not, but we'll see. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will join me in retiring the sketchbook. It has gotten so beat up because these big boys, it's an artist loft sketchbook, by the way. They're not that good. The paper's like, it's alright. It's not as bad as the one that I filled in 2018 that I just wanted to get over with so I could throw it in the trash. I didn't throw it in the trash, but I really hated that paper. I don't hate this paper. I don't love it. And I really liked this sketchbook's paper. I did not like the sketchbook spine. This sketchbook, the spine's not that bad, but the paper is kind of meh. And then the outside is just, I tried to tape it to protect it, and it's just like, no, it did not want to be protected. It's just a mess. I am glad for this to sit in the bookcase for the majority of the rest of its life. Thank you so much for joining me. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all sometime.